Known as the Stellenbosch College in the 1800s, to be renamed the University of Stellenbosch when it acquired university status in April 1918. This institution has always been a predominantly Afrikaans-medium university. After decades of criticism, on Friday last week, the university management announced that all learning will be facilitated in English as the main medium of instruction. This comes after a turbulent year of protests, a video expose, debates and consultations. Joining us from our parliamentary studio is Mohammad Shabangu. He is the spokesperson for the Open Stellenbosch Movement, a collective of students and staff who say that their purpose is to cleanse the system of the remnants of apartheid in pursuit of an inclusive university. Mohammad, welcome. Good to have you here on the program.
Hi, welcome, Leanne. Hi, sorry, hi, Leanne. Sorry, I'm just so discombobulated by just the news and how amazing this is.
I know. I like that word. I'm going to write it down. That's the word of the year. Discombobulated. Nice one. And I don't blame you, because I mean something like this. I mean, you know, this made headlines internationally with words such as, you know, on the BBC actually saying South Africa's Stellenbosch University aims to drop Afrikaans after protests. Talk to me about why you feel this is such a huge victory for you.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the I think the best things to happen to higher education post 94. Stellenbosch is seen as the birthplace of apartheid, and it's the only place actually in the country. I mean, one of the few places, but specifically because of the capital that's located in Stellenbosch, the only place in the country that continued to reproduce at such a great scale the kinds of slow violences that we know are a legacy of apartheid. We described the space in Stellenbosch as a space that is characterized by a certain sense of a kind of a neo-apartheid space and ideology. All the prime ministers of the apartheid government went to Stellenbosch either as students or as professors at some stage. So there's a whole history of apartheid atrocities in Stellenbosch, and I think that had been continued by the prevailing language policy, which ensured that the very same people that occupied privileged positions in society continued to do so today. I mean, it's over 75% white students at Stellenbosch, less than 5% of the professoriate are black at Stellenbosch, but there's also a certain kind of way in which the university itself could be said to be, in cahoots with white capital, and I think that this is the beginning of the undoing of that kind of legacy and that kind of ideology.
What do you think led to the change of mind? In his statement, the Vice Rector basically acknowledged your movement for the distinctive contribution of the Open Stellenbosch Collective in the most recent discussions to ensure that language implementation does not form a barrier. That's just to quote him. Again, I ask you, what do you think, can we attribute to the change of mind?
I mean, Leanne, that's a wonderful question, and I would like to ask it right back, because I think one of the, I mean, it's like asking, in the run up to 1994, what led to the change of mind or change of heart in F.W. de Klerk to come and sit down at the negotiating table or whatever the case might be, but there are multiple reasons for that. I don't know specifically what the reason for that is, but I imagine it has to do with the consistent efforts by Open Stellenbosch to bring attention to the kinds of violence and the manifestations that language leads to at Stellenbosch, and the kinds of oppression that a particular kind of Afrikaner cultural hegemony has kept in place.
Yeah, and I suppose that's how things change.
There's an awakening to that.
Yeah, an awakening is what you're saying.
I think there is an awakening to that. I mean, this is the same Vice Chancellor who in July had said, and I quote, we will not entertain any ideological debate, whether pro or anti-Afrikaans.
Yeah.
You know, and I think after weeks of critical and rigorous debate with members of the Open Stellenbosch collective, we were able to convince him otherwise. And I think this is also an example of what, in fact, can be achieved when these, good professors, come down from the ivory towers of higher education and, in fact, engage and begin to, as that documentary that we released was entitled, Leicester.
Let's talk about the practicalities of all of this, because if I'm not mistaken, in September the university actually came out saying that it's going to be very tight and almost impossible for them to start offering these parallel courses in English and other languages due to finding the right lecturers and due to, I suppose, the logistical reasons as well. How's this going to affect this announcement and the changes going forward?
Yeah, I mean, we've always felt that it shouldn't be difficult, to make the transition. I think the financial implications is something that the university, in a sense, has also exacerbated. I think that most lecturers are able to speak English to their students, and it's simply a matter of saying that where we are both comfortable, where there is a common language between the instructor and her subjects, that common language ought to be employed. And I don't think that that's a very difficult thing. I mean, that's very simple. Starting 2016, everyone who is lecturing just needs to start speaking English so that we can all understand. It's not even a question of creating parallel medium classes, which is why we've insisted that it isn't a question about creating separate but equal universities, which is that kind of Verwoerdian logic, but that it's about, in fact, creating the enabling conditions for multilingualism and multiculturalism to thrive.
Okay, very quickly, Mohammad. I mean, this year, I think we can dub this 2015 the year of the student. What we've seen students achieving this year has been absolutely incredible. I know there's still a lot more to do. Is it coincidental, or has there been a coordinated move from different student organizations that we've led to this position this year? I mean, you have to ask that question when you just suddenly saw the current getting harder and harder and more intense, and here we sit at the end of the year with all of these changes. Was this coordinated or a mere coincidence?
I mean, I think it might be a bit of both. I'm a bit reticent to say that it was coordinated because that then invokes the whole discourse about there being a third force, and for me that's very critical because somehow we've become so used to this idea that we can accept whatever whatever comes at us in this democracy, that it's almost impossible to imagine a collective of people with a common interest organically coming together, to call for social justice and order in the country. I think it's a bit of both. There is just, there are a lot of disgruntled people, a lot of disillusioned youths, unemployment and education, remain, or the lack of education anyway, at both basic and higher education remain a critical issue. And I think that the youth are beginning to take seriously the idea of an active citizenry. And knowing that that we can call the state to account, and we can call these different entities to account.
All right, Mohammad, let's leave it there. Thank you very much for being with us here on the program. Mohammad Shabangu is the spokesperson for the Open Stellenbosch Movement. All right, we're going to take a